What's up, party people? My name is Morgan.
I'm Garrett. We are FOMO. We're here Excellent today breaking down how we made our toms and snares for our brand new FOMO Fire Pack. That'll be coming out in the next couple weeks here. So we just want to give you guys a little insight into how we go about making our samples. In this case, just the toms and snares. And we're going to be giving away the rack, the tom rack that we're going to be using, the one we always use to make all of our killer toms. That'll be in the description. There'll be a link to that. So you can download that and make toms like FOMO, baby.
Fat boy toms.
All right, we're going to jump right into it.
Let's get it. So first and foremost, when you're really just trying to do anything new in general, you want to make sure you get a nice reference just so you know what you're aiming for. Because a lot of people, like, when they do something new, they just try to, like, go for it.
Just freestyle
and
it.
you either end up getting lost in the sauce or you end up making some bullshit.
Yeah.
I just have a reference for from one of our own songs just so we could hear what we're going for. And this is what it's going to sound like.
So that nice beefy tom layer underneath.
Yeah. I just put in like a quick little triplet rhythm. It's not the same as the reference, but just so you can get the picture of how it would happen right here. So this is what they're going to sound like. And I'm just going to duplicate this really quick and just peel it back from the back.
Peel it back. Right.
Okay, so this is doing absolutely nothing. This glue compressor is just here to put a soft clip at the ends, and that just means that it's not like clipping when it comes out of the channel.
It's kind of acting as a little limiter.
Yeah. Yeah, so sonically not really anything, but it's just making it so it's not read out of the channel. All right. A little OTT, nothing special, 50%. Just makes it a little crispy.
Nice and present.
For that, we got a reverb with cutting out the highs just because, like, if you think about kind of like how a tom... Yeah, it's just a low-end instrument, and it sounds kind of weird when you have just, like, the high-end reverb.
Super high-end, like, sizzle reverb, yeah.
Yeah. And we go pretty high on the dry wet here just because, like, when you hear an actual tom, or when you record a tom, it's in a room, so it's like...
Yeah, like a real actual, when you hit a real tom, it would have, like, some natural reverb.
Yeah.
A good amount. Just trying to make them sound as natural as possible.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got, so a little bit of hyper and dimension, and this kind of emulates as if you recorded it with different microphones, just like giving it a little bit of space, so this is with it.
Yeah, they're pretty much completely mono without it.
Yeah, you could let it rip in mono, it doesn't really matter. Still sounds good. All right, now the last thing we get to is this Kick 2 plugin, which is originally made for kicks, but you can make all kinds of drums in it. Yeah,
so this might be the only plugin like that you guys might not have because everything else is either stock or Serum Effects is free. But if you guys want to get into making your own drums, I highly recommend getting Kick 2. It's perfect for making kicks, snares, toms, as we're showing you. So if that's something you want to dive into and if you want to be able to use this rack, definitely check it out.
Yeah, so let me just turn on these effects just so we could hear what we're doing here. So essentially what you got here is you just got a sine wave, and then in this window right here you control the pitch, and it goes all the way up from whatever, 20K down to 0. So, and then over here on the right we have 3 different samplers that you could put like clicks in or whatever type of sample. So I'm just gonna solo, so this is just the sine wave. So there's no real sauce here. You just kind of gotta listen for it and just see what sounds good to you. But it usually sounds good when they're like deeper for like trap stuff. But you could do like fun stuff like make them longer. Yeah, you could just do whatever you want here.
So but it's a little touchy, but once you like dial in like a main shape, you only have to adjust it like the slightest bit to get like a completely different result.
Yeah, and then it helps if you're doing like stuff that's super tonal, like a tom, to like pitch it correctly. So you could control the pitch down here, and then wherever you end on the far right is the pitch that it's going to be in. And then so just a quick other note is if you want to get like more realistic sounding toms, if you go to let's see, if you go to these toms or skins, it's going to sound like more natural. So
and these are just like their stock wave generator presets.
Yeah, and so you would. This harmonics is kind of like the wavetable of it. So like as you can see on the grid over here, it's like turning it. Yeah. So it's like more
shit out of that.
Yeah. Put it right back over here, and so if you want the what's going on here is like, so at the beginning we have like a pitch swoop, and that's emulating just like the crack of the snare, like hitting the skin of it.
The tom.
And then, or of the tom. Yeah, and then, so you could pretty much just end on the same note down here, and it'll sound pretty good. because a tom is just like one note and then it's sustained. So you could just like leave this down here and you just kind of like choose where you want it to end up.
Yeah, so this is basically just establishing the fundamental frequency of the actual tom.
Other notes is distorting the crap out of it usually sounds good, or driving
it's got a
the
really
shit out
nice,
of it.
like built-in distortion we usually just crank.
We mapped these 2 macros right here so you could control the pitch of it in here if you wanted to do like a pitch down over time, because you can't pitch it down within the sound without doing this. So this is
unless
just,
you bounced it and pitched it from audio.
Yeah.
But this is the way we do it, just by using MIDI.
and then we have the time map so you could like control the speed of the. Yeah, so if you had like a fill, you could like make it shorter and then longer.
Yeah, so it's not just like the exact same length of a snare hit. Like if you were actually playing it, you wouldn't hit it for the exact same length of time each time. They would vary, so we try to use that to make it sound even more natural.
Yeah, and then lastly over here we just have some clicks for the top end of the tom, and you could just use like whatever favorite samples over here, or anything really.
Yeah, this is mostly just for the transient because it has these little high pass knobs over here, high pass and low pass.
Yeah, you want to turn these up if you don't want
to
the
make
low.
sure that so none of the low end part of the grid here is just controlling the low end, and then you want to use all these for like the transient and the high end. So you don't want it conflicting at all.
Precisely. Yeah, that really brings out the whole sound actually.
Yeah.
All right, that's about it for toms. So yeah, if you guys want this rack, it's going to be in the description for free.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you can like demo click 2 or kick 2 or whatever, but if you can't, definitely it's worth a purchase, I'd say, if you want to make your own drums.
Yeah. All right, on to snares. All right, so for snares, it's pretty much like the same logic. The body of a snare is just a really quick sine wave, and then a bunch of like initial transient. So we have the sine wave like swooping all the way up from up here. Yeah, so the pitch up here gives it the attack, and then this is just the body of the snare. And so this is the length is super short because like when you distort it with the noise, it'll make the crack for you. So you just want to make it super short in here. And you could do this within Serum. It's just easier to control the sine wave in here, and then the clicks and stuff are better. Yeah, so kind of just mess around with whatever pitch you want it.
Yeah, and you usually want this part to end somewhere in like the 200 hertz range is usually where a snare is gonna like the fundamental is gonna be.
Yeah, so like the first thing you're gonna do is just make this quick attack thing. It's gonna sound like shit to start, but you could just you do this first and then you go back and edit it later after you make everything else.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we started making our own snares, I always was like, you don't really notice that part of a snare in like a sample, but when you like really listen to it, you hear it almost sounds like shit.
Yeah.
Always. Like it's just this weird little click.
Yeah,
but that's
weird.
what gives it like all the body, and you kind of like mask it with other elements.
Yeah, so that's what it's going to sound like to start. Yeah, so and then from there we kind of just mess around with a bunch of different weird attacks and just affecting them. So this is just like we're using this as a sampler, and so you could hear without the effects. So it's just some different tails of different snares, and then we have an operator that's just going to be noise with a super quick envelope, you can see right here. So this is what it's going to sound like out of the rack. And again, this is one of those things that you have to like work backwards from after you start. So it's like it's going to sound like shit to the very end.
Yeah, it almost is more helpful to start with all the processing on. Like when we're making them, we pretty much have like this chain that we're always using, and then I always keep it on so that I can hear what changes I'm making in the beginning, but I'll have all the processing pretty much dialed in, and then I'll go and fine tune after. But you kind of want to have all that on while you're creating that first thing out of kick 2 and using all the different sample layers, because it will sound like complete dog shit without any of the processing.
And the way to like get a good flow with like making a shit ton of snares is to just do this once and then find out what's like really affecting the sound, and then just keep on duplicating the track down from there and messing with the stuff that's like heavily affecting the sound.
Yeah, because once you get all the processing down, you'll find it's really just a few fine tuning elements to like get a different result from it, but you kind of need the same structure to get it to sound quality enough to actually like use.
Yeah.
But it's the little things in the beginning phase that'll affect it the most.
It's the little things.
It's the little things for me.
So first off, we got utility, just bringing the width down, just because all these like noise samples were super wide and we didn't want it to be like crazy wide or anything. So this is just like taming the stereo width. And then next up we got overdrive, and this is kind of just like squashing everything together and then distorting it. It's kind of hard to hear before the OTT comes on, so I'll just... And this one too. Yeah, so it's kind of like just obviously distorting everything together, making it sound like crispy.
And you can move that frequency range around in the overdrive as well to get like a more like high-end snare or something a little more meaty. It all just depends on what you're trying to create.
So next up, we got a saturator with just 20 pumped up on the drive here.
Slammed.
Yeah, and that's just giving it just like all the body and drive to it. Nothing special on these other knobs or anything. So from there we got Ott Gain Comp, and what this is just the regular OTT preset, but with the output up 10. And then we got this Everything Thick OTT, which you guys should have or will be getting soon.
Yep. It's our go-to.
And this pretty much just squashes everything to -4, and it just makes everything huge. Everything's thick.
Everything's thick.
Yeah, so that's your thickness right there. And then we just got a low cut to get rid of this, the garbage under there.
We don't need.
And then just some reverb to taste here on ascend. So this is just create a chain and put 100% wet just so you could control it more easily. And then just a little bit more saturation at the end.
That's a snare.
That's a snare. Sweet. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
for this
that's
one.
it. We'll put the rack for the toms in the description. Other than that, FOMO Fire Pack.
Volume 1.
Volume 1 coming very soon. Be on the lookout. We'll be doing some giveaways and stuff related to that as it gets closer. So stay tuned for more. We'll see you guys next time.